Hi and welcome to the video. I'm Dame and this is Dame Over, and today we're taking a look at the top 10 things missing from Battlefield 5, and to do that we're taking a trip back to 2016 and Battlefield 1. I've made a list of some of the most important aspects to Battlefield 1 that made it so much fun to play when it released and that still make it a really great gaming experience today. Now these are things that I and many Battlefield players were hoping would be carried over into the latest installment in the franchise, but just like with almost everything else in Battlefield 5, we were disappointed. And this is not a comprehensive list by any means, so if you think I've missed out something you think should have made its way into Battlefield 5, then make sure you let me know in the comments. So we will kick things off with number 1, the aggressive sniper. This was and still is my favourite way to play on Battlefield 1, getting up close enough to the enemy so they think they stand a chance, but snapping your sights up to centre mass and sending them back to the respawn screen. One of the most satisfying ways to play on Battlefield 1, and it was aided by the variety of weapons that let you play as an aggressive sniper. I'm talking the Arasaka, the Martini Henry, even the General Lu, but by far my favourite, the Ross Mark III. And when Battlefield 5 came out, I, and I'm sure lots of other players, tried to find their groove with the aggressive sniping, but it just wasn't really possible, thanks to how ineffective the recon class is in Battlefield 5 at anything that isn't very long range. Now, the best Battlefield 5 recon class weapons as an aggressive sniper are, in my opinion, the ZH-29 and the Selbstlader 1906, both offering a clean 2-tap kill, but gone is the satisfaction of lining up your shot after charging down the distance to bring your target down in the one-shot sweet spot range. Getting big kill streaks, running enemy to enemy, and generally being a menace with pinpoint accuracy are things of the past with the recon class, something I'm really hoping will change in the next Battlefield title. And sticking with the theme of playstyles, we've got number 2, the run and gun explosive parkour specialist. Man. Okay, that was a mouthful, but just look, stay with me on this one. This is another playstyle suited to those of you who like to get up close and personal, but with an added sprinkle of absolute mayhem. It's high risk, high reward with the run and gun explosive parkour specialist, man, but my god is it satisfying when you're running across the top of a wall, you jump into a building, do a 360 spin for style, chuckle your dynamite down, then bring that building down on the heads of all of those guys camping on the roof. The hip fire kills, the bayonet charges, the explosions, the debris, the all-out absolute madness of the run and gun player is not in Battlefield 5. Yeah, sure, you can make a good attempt at it. There are some weapons that allow you to run and gun, but gone is the fun factor and the satisfaction of knowing you can bring a building down in just a few seconds. Yes, there is dynamite in Battlefield 5. Yes, the explosives can do some damage to the architecture, but for me, it's just not nearly as exciting. It's one of those intangible things. The way the game's created, the atmosphere that's created in Battlefield 1 just supersedes anything that happens in Battlefield 5. And it's down to the design of the explosions, and I think mostly the sound design. When you blow something up in Battlefield 5, chuck your dynamite on the floor, it sounds like someone's throwing a bit of wet tissue paper at a wall. If you throw your dynamite in a building in Battlefield 1, you get that gratifying boom that only a bundle of Acme's finest can achieve. Next up, we've got number 3, parachutes. And I know what you guys are going to say from the very beginning. There are parachutes in Battlefield 5. That much is very true. And the paratrooper was an integral part in the war effort in World War II. But I was sat there thinking about the parts of Battlefield 5 that are missing, and parachutes is one of them. Unless you're one of those players that specializes as a pilot, you're not going to know your parachute very well at all. Using your squad mate's airplane to drop in behind enemy lines on Monte Grappa, jumping off a cliff face in Sinai Desert, or taking a running leap off the Behemoths airship as it explodes are some of the coolest features in Battlefield 1 that seem to have just been left by the wayside with the birth of Battlefield 5. But according to DICE, D-Day was not a significant enough event to include in a World War II game, so I guess we'll just let them off this one. And now on to number 4, cavalry. And I know what you guys are going to say. In World War II, cavalry did not make a big appearance in the fighting, and you'd be absolutely right. Cavalry and horses were mostly used for the transportation of weapons and equipment. But the important part that's missing from Battlefield 5 is that specialist unit. The extremely mobile, hard to take down killing machine that always put that little note of panic in your voice when you were shouting, "There's a horse! There's a horse on the left! He's chasing me!" No, I'm not suggesting that DICE should have added in a cavalry class, but I was hoping for a super mobile specialist class that wasn't a sentry unit, maybe an extremely fast armored bike that had some explosive capabilities, something that's hard to kill and hard to use. In my opinion, with a unit similar to the cavalry in Battlefield 1, it definitely would have helped to stop tanks becoming such an overpowered nuisance in Battlefield 5. Next up, we've got number 5, Sentry Kits. And with their recent introduction of flamethrowers coming with the Pacific DLC, this idea has been curbed a little bit, but I think it still stands. Along a similar vein to how Cavalry acted in Battlefield 1, I think Sentry Kits had a huge part to play in varying the game loop. Players rushing to pick up the Sentry Kits when they were announced in-game and bringing almost certain death because of overpowering armaments in Battlefield 1 was one of the most fun things to do. The variation of each Sentry Kit played a huge part into the control of areas of each of the maps. With the Flame Trooper on Amiens, you can control those indoor corridors pretty easily. Or if the enemy is overpowering your team with the use of their artillery trucks from a distance, then the Tank Hunter Kit is the thing to take them down with. Feeling unstoppable, taking on huge amounts of damage, dishing out deaths with what seems like complete impunity, and in general just feeling like an absolute boss definitely added to the fun factor. Had there been something similar in Battlefield 5, I feel like the gameplay loop would have been very different and far more interesting. Fingers crossed something similar makes its way into the next Battlefield title. Next up is number 6, weapon crates and puzzle pieces. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you guys just how much of a clusterfuck the cosmetic rewards were in Battlefield 5, but with the removal of the idea of weapon crates and puzzle pieces, lots of the player base was entirely baffled. Using your scraps to unlock weapon crates was one of the most ingenious ways of unlocking all the good-looking skins in Battlefield 1, and adding into the random factor of possibly picking up a puzzle piece to then unlock a melee weapon, I thought this frankly was a stroke of genius. Considering they absolutely axed the premium pass in Battlefield 5, getting most of their revenue was going to be through cosmetic rewards. But just like with many other aspects of the game, they decided to take the model that they knew already worked and completely forget about it. I could go on more, but honestly, I don't really think I need to. Next up is number 7, and that is Easter eggs. There are a ton of Easter eggs in Battlefield 1 that many players, myself included, spent absolutely hours trying to unlock and find. I'm talking about the Megalodon, I'm talking about the Peacekeeper, I'm talking about the Phantom Program skin for the M1917 MG. These all involved additional tasks that had almost nothing to do with the base game itself, but something that absolutely grabbed the attention of so many of the players of Battlefield 1. It showed ingenuity and absolute genius from those creators down at DICE, and we thought that was going to be carried over into Battlefield 5. Oh, we were wrong. I mean, I was really looking forward to hunting down some new skins. Just look at the Phantom skin here. It's amazing. This is an incredible design. But it looks like all of those puzzle makers and those artistic designers got completely ignored through the entire process of Battlefield 5. Easter eggs are a fantastic way to engage the audience of your game, so again, like I've said about 1,000 times in this video, fingers crossed, DICE are gonna listen to feedback and get Easter eggs into the next title. Next on our list is number 8, Behemoths. So your team is losing by quite a fair amount. Your backs are against the wall, you're fighting hard but still not really seeing any results. In comes the Behemoth. Entered the armored train, the dreadnought, the airship, or for some reason in the French countryside, a gigantic tank. In the right hands, and with a little bit of luck, these monster machines could turn the tide of battle and take what was going to be almost a certain loss into a guaranteed victory. And the secret to this was, again, just spicing up the gameplay loop. Adding in an extra thing for players to think about, an extra target to engage with, and something for them to be a little bit afraid of if they got caught in the wrong situation. I will concede that quite often they were a bit useless. But just adding in that sprinkle of something different made the game far more exciting. And yes, in Battlefield 5, you can call in V2 and V1 rockets. You can call in artillery strikes. There's even the Churchill tank. And in my opinion, at least, I found that the reinforcements in Battlefield 5 never really had that much of an effect. And it's not to say that the V2 rockets aren't really cool. Watching someone get 10 plus kills with one gigantic rocket, yeah, it's a really fun thing to see, or even experience yourself. The thing I think is missing is that it didn't feel particularly special or unique. Every single squad in each lobby could get the same things at the same time, and it kind of nullified the impact a bit. I think DICE had the right idea with this kind of involvement in Battlefield 5, but hopefully they could split the difference between the Behemoths and the reinforcements. Let's wait and see. And now we're on to the penultimate aspect of things missing from Battlefield 5, and next up we've got number 9, 3D spotting. And I have a feeling this is going to split opinions right down the middle. Cue hitting the dislike button. Now, I don't want to go into the ins and outs of why I think 3D spotting would have been a great addition to Battlefield 5, and yes, I understand the reasons why it was taken out in the first place, but after seeing Battlefield 5 and how it plays and how the game functions as a whole, not having 3D spotting was, I think, a huge mistake by the devs. Jumping back into Battlefield 1 and actually being able to see targets at a distance or even when they're up close is a huge selling point, and I guarantee it's one of the main reasons that players have come back to Battlefield 1, whether they know it or not. I got into a very long discussion with my friend Get Good Guy the other day about this, and we both agreed you simply cannot have maps this big without 3D spotting. It boils down to this: do you want to be able to see people to shoot at them, or do you want to run around in an open field trying to look under every single blade of grass just to find one person to hit with your gun? Okay, don't worry, I've calmed down. Sorry about that little outburst. Which brings us nicely and calmly onto the final point of things missing from Battlefield 5. And we are on number 10, content. Maybe it's over... could be... it might be in... just a second. Let me check. It's not. No, I was right. Where is it? One of the most incredibly disappointing parts about Battlefield 5 was the sheer lack of content. And it's not like there wasn't enough source material to go on. Like I mentioned before, D-Day was completely overlooked. The invasion and escape from Normandy, also another huge aspect of World War II that was completely missed out. And frankly, I think the Battlefield 5 fanbase and Battlefield players on the whole felt very hard done by what turned out to be a disappointingly empty game. And if DICE learn anything from their experience with Battlefield 5, I hope it's this. If you want your players to keep playing the game, make sure there's content for them to actually enjoy. And that brings us to the end of my list of the 10 things that are missing from Battlefield 5. Like I said at the beginning, if you think there's anything I missed out, make sure you hit me up in the comments and let me know what that is. And here's a huge thank you to my Damer operatives, those of you guys choosing to support the channel through Patreon. You guys definitely deserve to be tucked in with a kiss on your forehead at night. If you want to become a Damer operative yourself and get those tucking in privileges, then there's a link in the description that'll take you straight to the Patreon page, and you can support the channel from as little as $1 a month. Don't forget to hit the like button because it really does help the channel out, and if you had a good time, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. Till next time, that's Dame over. Peace.